Welcome to the lecture series on effective technical communication, and today we will be looking at the second topic from the third unit, that is feasibility reports. Okay, so we have been doing report writing for quite a couple of classes now. So as I told you in the very first class I told you that report writing has to be done after the completion of your project or after the execution of the project as a written record of what you have done, right? But there are certain reports, which are supposed to be written either before you even start the project or while you are, continuing with the project. Now, the report that has to be written even before you have started your project is your feasibility report. And as you can understand by the term feasibility, it means viability and the realistic possibility of its implementation. Because of course you might have great ideas, you might have great vision, but it is sometimes, executing those ideas in reality might be a problem if certain factors are not in your favor. So feasibility reports basically evaluates those factors even before you have undertaken the project. So feasibility report says how realistic your project is and how is it that we are going to implement it in reality. Okay, so let us look at it. So a feasibility report is a report that evaluates a set of proposed project paths or solutions to determine if they are viable. The person who prepares a feasibility report evaluates the feasibility of different solutions and chooses their recommendation for the best solution. So basically the solution to actually implement the project in reality, they evaluate and weigh up various different solutions and then they choose the best solution out of all the solutions and they recommend the solution to the higher ups or the higher authorities to whom they are answerable. Okay, now of course feasibility report basically it weighs the pros and cons of a particular project, the cost, the gains, the glitches, and it studies the problem, the opportunity, and the plan for taking action. All of these things are basically, evaluated in your feasibility report. Okay, and these have to be done before you are undertaking the project, because the project can be started after the feasibility of it has been determined. Because if you start the project even before the feasibility of it has been determined, then you do not know how far you are able to go with that, and then there will be a loss of money, resources, and all of those things. So this is the reason why feasibility reports are written before the start of your project. Okay, uh, now of course, like all other writing skills or all other reports, feasibility report also has a particular, you know feasibility report also has a particular format. Okay, now the very first section that you include in a feasibility report is the executive summary. So executive summary is something that you have come across in your business proposal, right? So you know what executive summary is. So in feasibility report, the executive summary would include the brief description of what is in your report, the problem that you are going to solve or the project that you are working on. You need to, note down some main ideas from your research or important information from your project, and there should be a concise explanation of how the project or the problem relates to the overall mission of your company. So all of these things are required to be included in the executive summary of your feasibility report. Alright. Now after the executive summary is done, what we look at is the introduction. Now the introduction also has to be very brief and concise, and it should basically talk about the problem of the project, the proposed approaches that you have, uh, that you are going to take up while you are dealing with the project. So all of these things are basically written in the introduction section of your feasibility report. Then comes the background or the context. Now in the background and context, you are basically going to mention the context in which your feasibility report was born, the background in which your feasibility report was born, along with the context. So how the idea of the project came into your mind, how the idea of the project took birth in your mind, what circumstances led to you, thinking about it or taking it up seriously. So all of these things are required to be written in your background. And if you're evaluating different solutions to a problem, you can also explain where the problem came from and what how it affects your company. So all of these things are required to be included in the background and context section of your feasibility report. Then comes the evaluation criteria, which is one of the most important sections of your feasibility report, because in your evaluation criteria you basically talk about, yeah, in your evaluation criteria you basically talk about the various factors, you know which are important in uh, which are important for your feasibility report. So the various factors that you will be undertaking, so all those things you are going to talk about in the background section of your feasibility report. Sorry, not the background section, but in your evaluation section of your feasibility report. So what are the factors? So the financial costs, the tax impacts, the public perception. So how much cost your project is going to involve, the tax impact, so the tax that the project is going to take up along with the financial cost, the public perception, so how your project will be influencing the public perception, how the public perception will be influenced by your report and sorry by your project, and how the public is going to perceive your project, whether they will be positive about it, whether they will not be receiving it positively, or whether they will be receiving it negatively. So all of these things are required to be mentioned in the public perception section. Then comes the environmental effects. So whether your project is environmental friendly or not. If there is an aspect of your project which is not very environmental friendly, then you should either consider taking up the project, or you should think of alternative resources that you can use which are environment friendly. Then comes the resources needed. Of course, this is again a very important section. So what are the important resources that you need for your project? Whether the resources are easily available, whether the resources are not easily available, whether the resources are not that expensive, whether the resources are expensive. So all of those things are required to be mentioned. Okay, and all these things are subsections under the evaluation section, area under the evaluation criteria section of your feasibility report. Then comes the evaluation solution. So after you have weighed up all these factors like environmental effects, tax impacts, your financial costs, after that, after weighing up all of these factors, you are going to come up with the best solution if there is any problem. And in the evaluation of solutions, you are going to recommend how is it that you are going to make these solutions work, and how is it that these solutions will help. Then comes the conclusion section. Now in the conclusion section, basically you will be talking about, or basically you will be summing up your points of your feasibility report, and you will be uh, you know you will be restating the main points that you had begun with in the beginning, in the very beginning. Then comes your final recommendation. So what is the final solution that you will be recommending for the implementation of this report in reality? So that comes under the final recommendation section, which is again the final section of your feasibility report. So that's it about feasibility report. Okay, so these are the things that you have to remember. So we will get back again in the next session with some new topic once again. Thank you for listening.